Hi everybody. Welcome back to the show. This week I'm super excited because I get the opportunity to actually interview not just a good friend of mine, but also a person that I would consider a mentor in the world of education, not just at value education, short term for textbooks, but also life education in helping young people get A's, not just in school, but in real life. A strong point that I am a big believer of. And this individual not only helps young children, but also help young children and families from underprivileged get quality education, and is someone that I really respect in the world of education. And it's a great privilege to have the chance to interview him, Mr. Edmond Yap. Now, before I go down, because being a fan, I will blurb a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. How about you do a quick introduction about yourself first to the audience,
Sure.
the mummies and daddies out there, so that they get a better context rather than a fanboy sharing it.
Sure. Well, I've been concerned about education for a very long time. I used to be a civil engineer. I ended up starting a website called EduNation. And EduNation now, and the sister companies like BAC Free School, wow, I mean, we've produced more than 6,000 videos. And this month, due to coronavirus, the BAC Free School has 30,000 new subscribers.
Wow!
In one month, right? 30,000.
That's ridiculous.
So that's amazing, lah. So I've since left EduNation, and it's continuing to be run by the team I've set up all those years ago, right? I've helped a friend in Acton Academy for about 6 months actually. Helped them to grow their school, and that's also very, very exciting because it's as left wing as you can get when it comes to education. Because they have no teachers, no exams, no homework, and now parents start freaking out because there's no exams, no homework.
Yeah, we were just talking just before we started recording, right, about the fact that what you guys do in the school is literally, if anyone that goes to the school right now with the lockdown has no issues, because of the fact that in the school, the objective is it's not about, there's no homework, there is no teachers, there's no exams. But how do they still learn and grow? And you create it in a way where they are independently responsible for learning, to developing themselves, and to move forward in life. And that's an amazing concept. I think many mummies and daddies will be asking the question right now is like, how do you do that? How can you give me like a magical pill so I can feed my child so they can do exactly that?
Okay, so magic pill. No, well, we haven't discovered that yet. You'll be the first to know when we do.
All right.
But I mean, look, at the end of the day, we recognize that. I think some of the most forward-thinking educators recognize that there's no one size fits all. Different types of education suits different types of families, suits different types of kids more. And it just so happens that I'm more left-leaning. I think of education not as what it was, which is to serve the factory industrial complex, but what it could be, which is really to help kids grow, to become purposeful, to be happy, to chase their dreams, to really make a dent in the world, right? So it just happens that I'm like that. Now my thoughts is for a certain kind of parent. And certain kinds of parents will agree with me, but certain kinds of parents won't. And the biggest difference in the traditional education and I think education of the future is leadership. And this affects everything, right? Because education of the past relies on fear, right? Exams. That's why you must learn. And what does exams do? It drives that fear of exams into kids, and that's why they're, oh my God, I have to learn. And our education system has focused on that, right? It has, because it really is the easiest thing to do. You give them fear, you make people scared, and you drive them to do things. But what happens with fear is that when school ends, kids stop learning. Right? And so we see this huge group of graduates that's coming out right now who no longer reads books. And I mean, I'm sure, some of us have complained about that before. People just don't read books anymore. And we look at other people and say, how come people don't read books anymore? Well, I'll tell you why. because for 11 years, kids have been going to school. And sorry, if it's college, it's more than 11 years, 16, 17 years.
Yes.
For 16 or 17 years, 18 years, hey, you've been forcing kids to sit in front of a book and memorize facts. And after 16, 17 years of looking at a book and memorizing facts, what do they associate books with? They associate books with pain, with a lack of joy, with, they want to burn books, not read them.
Correct.
Right? So that's the problem with an education system based on fear. And that's a very old leadership principle, right? That's where punch clocks come from. That's where KPIs come from. And all this, and the fundamental leadership idea of that you have to strike fear into people to get them to do things is there because in the era of factories, in the industrial era, right, when factories started coming out, what happened was you got people who started doing work that was very boring, right? They are no longer running their own farms. They're no longer motivated to do their own things. They have to show up between 9 to 5. They have to be on the factory floor doing one lousy thing, on and on. And because that job is so lousy, leadership managers had no choice but to use fear. You don't show up to work, I'm going to fire you, you're an idiot, you're all those kind of things.
Correct.
But we've since moved on from the industrial revolution. Right now is the information revolution. The world has totally changed. Our factories are being, and the robots are taking over our factories. And so really that the leadership based on fear is gone. And so, but having said that, a lot of companies still use fear, and our schools in particular use fear. And exams are the biggest part of that.
And it's scary because when just to jump on that, because when the world has evolved and moved forward and improved, but the two elements that did not improve is how they motivate the workforce as well as how they motivate in education. And when you talked about that, that is totally spot on, because I believe a lot of parents out there also notice the pattern of fear. Because what happens is at a very young age, when children are in kindergarten, you force them to do things, they'll do it because mommy said so, daddy said so, teacher said so. And then in primary school, okay, mommy said so, daddy said so, teacher said so. But when they grow a bit older, when they have the option of, hey, do I do the work, get scolded, or do I just don't do the work, don't care? And that's a big change as well.
Well, you see, that's a problem with the education system. Why? Because, look, when's the last time we asked our kids, what do you want to learn? Right? Schools don't allow that. Someone in a boardroom somewhere decided a long time ago that every child will learn this. Doesn't matter whether your child's an artist or your child's a builder, or your child's someone who loves coding, or your child just loves gardening. It really doesn't matter. And so no one has asked our children what you want to learn. And you have to learn this. And so what happens is that becomes a death of motivation, right? And because you can't motivate kids because they're not doing what they enjoy doing, we have to resort to fear, right? So what happens with a place like Acton Academy, and what happens with this entire self-learning movement, right? Is saying, look, every child is different, right? And so we shouldn't treat every child like they're the same. And because of that, we should ask every child what they want to learn. And then we encourage them through that process. We give them the tools to go through that process. And because kids are doing and learning what they want to learn, they are infinitely motivated. And you no longer have to use fear, right? And so that becomes much more powerful. Rather than an extrinsic motivating factor of fear, you have an intrinsic motivating factor of joy. Really? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful, because something that you brought on, because at a young age, right, children in kindergarten, they never fail in exams. They don't run away from going to school. They love going to kindergarten. But then you notice a trend change when they go to primary and secondary school, because their learning journey is no longer about what they can learn and explore. It's kind of like following the track of like, this is what you should be learning. And the worst thing is, because like you mentioned, because that is motivated by fear, it's like you do or don't do, it's like, this is the only way of doing it. And they are no longer doing it for themselves. They're doing it for other factors. They're doing it because that's the rule. They're doing it because that's what mommy and daddy say I must do. If not, I am not good enough. I am not worthy enough. And the funny thing is, even though parents and educators understand this, they're still utilizing the same system. It's like saying, hey, drinking alcohol is not good, but let's keep drinking, I'm saying. Or it's like, hey, exercising is important, but I want to chill today. So knowing in one thing and then doing is another. And I think that's the difficult part, because I believe not many people can straight away just get like change cold turkey. Not everyone can straight away evolve and change. And the worst thing is the people that manage the education system standards are very different in countries. Like even countries like Finland took about 6 to 7 years to re-evolve their public perception or systems in education for them to become the top in the world when it comes to the quality of education. So and it seems that in Asia it's even more difficult, because the public perception of quality education is the A in the examination. So with that being the issue right now, right? How would you propose like a shift can be happening from home towards the community?
So the biggest thing here is, if you ask me, right, is we need to redefine what leadership is. And because leadership has really changed over the years, because the world has changed. And now we get this movement of, if you have time, check out something called holacracy. Check out agile. And what holacracy and the agile movement does, right, is it takes a top-down, it takes away the top-down approach of leadership and replaces it with a bottom-up approach, right? So rather than lead by forcing people and lead by directives, you're leading by empowering people to take action from below, right? So, and the question is, I know you asked about the education system. I know you asked about what can parents do, but you see, this is it. Not only do our governments and our schools need to up their leadership game, check out holacracy and the agile movement, and check out Daniel Pink in his book called Drive.
Yes.
Right. Drive talks about, and maybe we'll cover that today, autonomy, mastery, purpose. And check out Seth Godin as well, right? These guys are, I think, the front runners of the thought leaders of what the future of leadership is and what leadership should be. And so, let's bring that back down to schools and to what parents can do. Now, Daniel Pink talks about the source of motivation, which is what you want your kids to have, right? I mean, it's so suffering to, every time you have to tell your kid, go study, go learn, go study, go learn. And then your kid's just busy on the PS4 and they don't want to learn. I mean, what sort of a nightmare is that? As opposed to that, wouldn't it be nice if your kid is just learning, right? In fact, you'll be busy telling the kid to, hey, put down what you're doing and start, come for dinner, right? And you're not worrying whether your kids are learning or not. Instead, you're worrying that your kids are learning too much. Wouldn't that be nice? And the key to that is what Daniel Pink wrote in his book called Drive. He wrote about the three factors that creates motivation: autonomy, mastery, purpose. Right. So let's talk about the first one, purpose. The problem with our school today is that there's no purpose for learning besides exams.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't. And I know that because when I ran EduNation, our usage numbers spiked by 10 times in October.
Just before exams.
Just before STM in November.
Yes.
Like, what the Watch it in January. Nobody watches in January. So everybody's last minute. I'll tell you why everybody's last minute. Exam. Because people are afraid of exams. So, okay, let's talk about purpose. Now, if we're actually asking our kids what they want to learn, and they're actually doing what they want to do, then they're intrinsically motivated, right? They have a purpose to learning. The reason why they're learning is because, this child saw that the river is really dirty and now wants to create a machine that cleans up our rivers, for example. Right? And from there, he'll learn everything from biology. He'll learn about microbiology, about bacteria and viruses in the river. He'll learn math because he'll learn about filters and filter sizes, measurements, micrometers, millimeters. He'll learn about history, about, our rivers and what was it like last time? And how did we used to manage our rivers? He'll learn about politics, what policies affect the cleanliness of our rivers and how people behave around rivers and town planning. And see, even from one problem of your child saying, hey, I want to solve this. This river is too dirty, would lead him down this rabbit hole that brings him to really learning everything. And that's really how we learn today, right? We see a problem in the real world, and then we learn everything surrounding it so that we can solve that problem, right? And so if a child has purpose, she's motivated.
They're going to find a way to actually explore more.
Yes, and your job, I think, as a leader, in this case, could be a parent or a school or the government, is to help people discover those passions or that purpose. Okay, so that's purpose. Let's talk about autonomy, right? My brother said to me, my kids can't learn on their own. And he said that to me after I kind of shared the idea of Acton, right? And how there's no teachers, so really kids fend for themselves, right? Kids come to school, and rather than being told by a teacher what to learn, they themselves set their own learning goals and keep each other accountable. So their friends, they keep each other accountable for their learning goals. So that's autonomy, right? They decide what to learn. Now, the power of autonomy is the more freedom you give people, and if they have purpose, they will use that freedom very, very well.
Correct.
Right? As opposed to not having autonomy, as opposed to having your entire life scripted for you, and they have no control over and no say. And that's why you'll notice that in a lot of bureaucratic organizations, like a lot of government departments, heck, a lot of the bigger companies, people just aren't motivated. Why? Because they can't do anything. I mean, they're told what to do by their bosses, and they lose.
Micromanaged.
Yeah, bosses micromanage them, and because of that, they lose motivation to do anything more. But you see, you want your kids to do more, right? You want your kids to learn more, do more, experience more, and that can only come when they have autonomy, not because you're nagging them to do something, right? Okay, so that's purpose, that's autonomy. The last one is mastery, right? Now, as a school, as a parent, as a government, you have to learn and you have to master the skills of leadership. In this case, new age leadership skills like holacracy, agile. And your kids need to be able to learn really life skills, living skills. Because look, the reason why we say we want to go to the gym but don't is because it's not because we lack the motivation per se, but because we lack the mastery of controlling our minds, the skill of controlling our minds. I used to be a really heavy smoker. So I used to be an engineer. I used to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. And I couldn't stop for I think 10 years.
Wow.
Right? I tried to stop. I couldn't stop. I tried to stop. I couldn't stop. I tried to stop, and a cigarette would float around my head the entire day, preventing me from working until I had a cigarette. So I was really addicted. And that only changed when I picked up this book by Shad Helmstetter. I think it's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, or something like that.
Something like self-taught.
Yeah, it's self-talk, right? And so what happened is the book taught me that the reason why I continue smoking is because I relate smoking to pleasure, right? So this direct correlation. Smoke,
feel
pleasure.
good,
right? But if I continue doing that, then I'll continue smoking. So it told me that every time I picked up a cigarette, the first thing I think about is all the bad things that will happen to me, and to be very visual about it. So I made up this scenario of me being in the hospital, the machines are beeping, beep, beep, beep. A little girl's at the side there looking at me saying, Daddy, why are you dying? The book asked me to be really very visual, very purposeful about that. And so I was slowly linking smoking, not to pleasure, but to pain. And so a couple of months of that, right? And I knew things had really changed was when I walked into a pub and I came out and then realized I didn't think about smoking. You see, because willpower isn't enough, right? You need to have the skills to be able to do whatever you want to do in life.
Correct.
So in the same way, right, for kids to be autonomous, right, they really need to master the skills of autonomy. So they need to learn, all these skills about self-control. They need to learn these mental strategies to be able to deal with their emotions, especially the teenagers, right? I mean,
all right, so true. So true.
Totally
it's so powerful because what you just mentioned just now, right? The whole 3 points, it's so spot on. And you know what? It's something that's not just applied in one level of life. It's actually applied in the full level of life. So just to clarify with you guys watching back at home is when Edmond was talking about the smoking and then like visualizing, he's literally talking about reconditioning himself. In sense like because a lot of us we don't really pay too much attention into our thoughts, because if you were to pay attention to every single thing that goes through our mind, we'll go insane. We're only conscious about less than 1% or 2% of what is actually happening around us to keep us sane, to keep us able to focus. And you refocus the particular action and activity to a totally different outcome, allowing you to give yourself a different reaction towards it. So that recondition, because everything in life definitely has its goods and bads, its pros and cons. It's like doing homework, yes, definitely have its good, at the same time has its bad. For a parent, the good thing is doing his work, being responsible. But for a child, their first impression is taking away time from their enjoyment, taking away time from something that they would love to do. So there's always the goods and the bads. And when you talk about purpose, autonomy, and then mastery, it's so important because everything that is happening right now has to start with the right purpose. And that's the keyword, I think, the right purpose, because everything has a purpose. Now, if for example, a parent send the kids to the child, the purpose is I want to give them the best opportunity in life. Giving them this 11 years to 18 years of education where I would work hard and give every resources and money that I can get for my child's well-being. That's the purpose. That's why parents do such an amazing job for their kids. But from the child's perspective, what is the purpose? The purpose is I just want to have fun. I want to have friends. Yeah. When it comes to exam, don't get an F. and when the purpose is not aligned, the amount of action and behaviors will be not aligned as well. So that's a very powerful thing that you bring down, because when the purpose is not aligned within the two parties, it's still going to be messed up. The next one, the anatomy is like very true. If the purpose is not correct, parents tend to need to nag their children. Parents tend to control the children because they're not behaving the way that they want to see them behave.
Correct.
So if the child tweak the purpose, like for example, when I work with students, one of the most important things I usually tell students is, I'm going to teach you how to cheat in exams. And their eyes just lights up. And it's like, oh, yes. Why? Because in their mind, exam, they equal to a very torturous, like you mentioned, unhappy piece of time. Yeah. So for me, I teach them how to cheat in exams. And then I explain to them, because exams' main purpose is to sabotage you. It's supposed to not make it easy. It's supposed to make it hard. But like in every video game, it's supposed to become it harder. But the thing is, in video games, you enjoy beating it. So I'm going to teach you how you're going to beat the system. And for that, they give it a chance. But the true purpose is not for me to help them just get over exams, my first thing is I actually explore by giving them a difference of anatomy first, a slightly difference of mastery.
Autonomy.
Autonomy.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
and then the reason why I give them a taste of that is because most of the time when I work with students, if they come from a very young age, they are very excited about overcoming exams. They are very excited about getting things solved and resolved. The biggest problem is when they start growing and they start not doing well, and then they get so much pain in doing it, they tend to just pull the handbrakes and be more reserved. They would rather be more excited with their games, their friends, TV, rather than actually the education part, because to them the purpose is painful. And when we give them solutions like this, they start seeing themselves as capable. They start to reignite the purpose that they want for the education.
People suspect that there is a correlation between South Korea's extremely high incidence of video game addiction to their schooling systems.
Oh, yes.
Because if you learn about the South Korean education system, you think, oh wow, really amazing. They were number top 1, top 2, top 3.
Wow. Talk about the stress level.
Test. No, but you have to understand why they're top like that, and why there's such a big video game addiction. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, see another conference call. So I may have to whisper.
All right. No worries.
Okay. Okay. Actually, I think I should move. Give me a minute.
Okay. Well.
Okay. Let me move to another room.
We're changing studios.
Yeah. I'm trying to get rid of my wife. Bye-bye.
That will be the last words you ever say.
Probably. Yeah, you won't see me again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Where was I? Okay. South Korea, video games. Okay. So the biggest the thing here is, and how South Korea got this huge results in PISA test, and that's my cat.
Oh, hello.
Sorry about that.
Oh, hi.
This thing about working at home, right?
Yes, I know.
What the schooling system sounds like and looks like in South Korea is kids go to school early in the morning.
You
wasn't even part of the conversation. Yeah. So kids go to school early in the morning. They stay back for lunch. School ends something like 2 or 3. They stay back for school-mandated tuition, right? So they sit down for the whole school day. They sit down again for the next few hours in school until about 6, 7 o'clock, dinner. And then after dinner, they all go for tuition.
Yep.
Until, and the government had to put and enact regulations not to allow tuition centers to open past 11
midnight.
to 12 o'clock.
Yes, past midnight.
Yeah, right, midnight, right? And why does the government need to put a regulation like that? Because everybody's doing it. Yep. Now, and so what happens is my friend who went to South Korea as part of student exchange was so shocked, because when she went to school in the morning, right, nobody was awake. So all the kids are sleeping, So there's this, okay, not all, but a third of all the kids seated in the classrooms would be like that, sleeping. And the teachers are so used to it, they don't even care, right? So the kid literally, from the age of 6 or 7, is sitting down on a chair the entire freaking day, right? For 16, 17 years. And their only escape is through video games. So look, the PISA test, it's a test. So it's obvious why the South Koreans did so well, because, they're great at tests. But what happens is then you get an entire generation of people totally hooked to video games because they find no joy in what they do. And that's the only joy they have.
And that's pretty powerful because if you talk about the traditional expectation of education, parents are expecting that, hey, if my child is sitting down, doing their homework, doing their studies, doing revision, that is the model of success for my child. But then imagine if they had a magic ball and they can actually see their children 5, 10, 20 years in the future, it might not show that they become successful. And that's one of the benefits of studying psychology, especially on education, because data like that has already been showing. In Harvard, there is a particular study that talks about the correlation with the quality of time that parents spend with their kids in education. And we're not talking about quantity, we're talking about quality. So there is groups of, because in the US, right, people think that US is like a very modern way of education. Not necessarily, because different schools have different mandates to education. There are certain schools that is like purely everything on exams. Then there are also certain schools that focus more on developing the child and then letting them do the exam. Now, both schools have exams. Both of them have to do the SATs and all that. And Harvard is one of the very strict universities, the Ivy Leagues, that even if you are a top scorer, not everyone will get in. Because just, I think last year or last 2 years, about 7,000 people apply into Harvard, but only like 400 to 600 people got enrolled into Harvard. That's a ridiculously small. Why? Because they don't just see candidates, capable people that are scoring straight A's. No, it's also about how they raise or how they perform as an individual. And there's like 15 years of research that shows that having a child that sits down because they are afraid of examination, they don't want to let down their parents, versus a child that sits down and wants to explore that set of knowledge for something that they think they can do to save the world, for something that they can do to improve something, is a very big difference outcome.
Correct.
And it's so exciting that you mentioned that, because I think Korea is a good example. If Malaysians are not aware of what is the purpose of education, because in Korea, it is a norm to have the parents only see their kids on weekends.
Right.
They only see the kids coming into the house at past midnight, and then at the early morning, they are the first one to leave the house, even before the parents. It's scary. And over there, education businesses are over $1 million. Teachers that only teach one subject, mathematics, teaching online, can be as famous as pop stars, because their value of education is sitting down and watching and learning more.
Right.
Where else, that's where we need to be aware, because rather than going down the rabbit hole and then having your kids suffer as an outcome of what we choose to do, it's very important for us to start tweaking things around. And I think it's very important, because when I work with students, right, one of my number one thing is I cannot change the fact that you have to take exams. It's like in the rule, it's like I cannot change the fact that you have to exercise to get healthier. But the thing is, right, it doesn't mean that you have to suffer to be able to get the results. So I'm a big believer of that. So for me, it's like, yes, you have to do well in your exam, because exams kind of like give you the results that gives you the options to choose. Because we cannot change the system, but we can change how we work on the system. And that's life in general. Because as much as we get exposed to all this, but it will take years and years of the politics and the society to evolve and adopt towards it. Now, to me, I can't afford our children to suffer in this period. So that's why it's very important for us to be the one adapting towards it as fast as possible. I think one of the things that makes a lot of successful people successful is the ability for them to adapt. Something that I love about you, Edmond, is professionally you're trained to be an engineer. And normally great engineers are people that are very systemized, very systematic. You're able to kind of like go in deep and always ask yourself the question, why this works? Or why it doesn't work. And your type of thinking is an amazing. That's why if I were to ask someone to create a program, you will be the person I'll ask for. Me, on the other hand, I'm a bit short-sighted on that, because I'm more of the, this is an idea, let's explore. I'm more of the doing it now kind of a person. And I think that's the reason why it's great to have this conversation, because for parents, they need to understand. And then on the other hand, I need to do something about it now. So I think it's great, because one of the things that I noticed, like right now, the fact that there is this MCO where families are stuck at home, mummies and daddies are there, the children are there, they get to see certain things that they may not get to have the luxury to see when they are going to the office and when the kids are in school. They get to actually see what are they doing in education. And the beautiful thing is, right, this will open the awareness. It's like, am my child sitting down at the books because they want to improve, or is it because I'm forcing them blindly? That's a very important question to ask, because if I'm going to be forcing them blindly, right, they're just going to go down that same direction. And tomorrow they're still going to hate you for it.
Right.
So being able to identify that, then the next question is, right, if they are doing it well and they're like loving it, great, kudos to you, keep going it. But what happens if the child says, you know what, I really don't know what I want to learn, I don't know what I want to do? Because again, some adults also don't know what they want in life. And the reason is not because they have no passion in life, it's because they've been conditioned to be told what to do.
Right.
So a lot of times when I work with students, majority of the times, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they want to achieve. They don't know what they have in life because they've not have the opportunity to explore for themselves.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the biggest things that I do is I do two things. Number one, I need to reinstall the self-confidence that they have that I've lost throughout the system by giving them the opportunity. Hey, you know what? Exams are not everything, but here's how you're going to overcome it. You know what? If you can get straight A's in exams, it's the same thing in life. It's just a matter of managing. Then the second thing is to get parents involved, because the fact that parents actually hold the key. A lot of parents, they feel like sending them for more tuition, sending them for more classes will fix the kids.
Right.
I disagree, because it's not sending them for more classes that fix the problem, because that's just the symptom. The root cause is being able to inspire and nurture the child to do it for themselves, to do it for the bigger reason. And I think that those are the methodologies that you were talking about just now.
Yeah.
And if the purpose doesn't start, anything else doesn't work. So how would you recommend, like, you know, parents can start the ball rolling to kind of like ignite that exploration of purpose?
I don't have much advice for parents who for example, are okay at sending their kids to Chinese schools, okay to sending them to traditional private international schools. I don't really have an advice for parents like that. Simply because, hey, I mean, the system is there for you already.
Correct.
Right? If you're okay with the traditional education system, or even if you're not okay, you're kind of okay lah. You turned out fine, right? So I don't have advice for parents like that.
I think my question is not about the advice. I think it's more of like, what could they like ask, like maybe asking them, hey, rather than just doing this way, how about you just explore looking at this way?
Okay, so which brings me to my next thing, really, because what I say next is for parents who are really in pain, right? You know that the school is not serving your child. You know that the school is not preparing your child for a very uncertain future. And, you know, look at MCO, right? Literally within a month, the coronavirus has totally changed the world, and things are not going to go back the way they are right now. And so the world is changing. The world is very different from last time. Education system is still so traditional. It's not serving your child. What do? And you're in pain. Now, so my next advice is for parents like that. Again, not for parents who go to traditional schooling, so I know, okay. But this is for parents who are in pain, who want to do something else for their child. Now, there are options, right? Not so much for poorer communities, because unfortunately, for poorer communities, it's public schooling. That's not very much you can do in that sense. But there's a whole movement that's springing up right now. I'll give you an example. Ecole 42 is a coding school that's coming from France. It's coming to Malaysia, by the way, in August.
Okay.
And Ecole 42 has it's by the way, even more oversubscribed than a place like Harvard or MIT, right? They're totally free, right? Coding school. Almost all of their graduates within a year get employed, not in 4 years, in a year.
Wow.
Start getting employed, and almost all of them have jobs by the end of it. There's no teachers, right? Question is, how do people learn without teachers? Well, there's technology lah. There's peer learning. There's so many other things we can do if we understand the newer theories of leadership. There's so much we can do to encourage people to learn on their own. It's all done online, self-paced, peer learning, project-based, and it's producing graduates that's far more independent and autonomous, and far more able to look for solutions than a normal student that comes out of a regular university, right? Because regular universities give you a template to follow, whereas a place like Ecole really encourages you to find your own answers. Right? So there's a place like Ecole happening, and Ecole, by the way, doesn't give any degrees. you get nothing. And let me say that again. You go to a university, and you get nothing.
No paper qualifications, nothing.
Nothing besides an education. And here's the interesting thing is they've lined up people like Microsoft, they've lined up people like Alibaba, Lazada, Grab, they've lined up all these people to become their partners. And these are people who say, I don't care if you got a degree or not. All I care is what you can do.
Correct.
And that's where portfolios come in. So there again comes these disruptors who's basically saying that the old education system doesn't work anymore. And government regulations that force us to do certain things, we don't want to follow them anymore. And so because we can't give you a degree, we don't. And employers are hiring them by the droves. So the world's already changing.
Yes.
And then you have a school like Acton, right? Acton Academy has no teachers, no exams, no homework. And every day kids come to school and they design their own learning experience and they set their own learning goals and they keep each other accountable. Of course, every system has its pros and cons. And, we're all learning as we go along. But wow. I mean, can you imagine your kid going to school every day and setting his own goals to learn and achieving them without your prompting and any adults prompting?
Correct. And I think that's really powerful because I think that's where every parent wants to know the secret. How does a child go to this school and without any prompting, without any scolding, without any forcing, they get to be able to be so motivated to do it? Correct.
So for parents who want to find out more, read Daniel Pink's book, Drive. He has a really interesting YouTube video as well. So search for Daniel Pink, as in the color. And his video called Drive. Really amazing animation that look at holacracy, look at the agile movement, and I think you'll be able to find a lot of different ideas that for what you can do as a parent. And you can bring this book to school and give it to the principal as well, and start championing for such things, right? In the school that you're in. So I think that's what you can do. I mean, I think that's the first step. Let's get ourselves educated with really the newest leadership principles or ideas that there are out there, and these are ideas that are very valid today for you and your child.
That's powerful. And I went through the structure, and one of the beautiful things is, right, they actually have a structure for freedom. They have a structure for work. So in other words, it's like, it's not that there is, the child comes and like whatever ever goes. There's this particular structure. I think the very first thing is like, there's this framework. There's a framework to allow, to have a balance of freedom to explore and grow. At the same time, a structure, a discipline towards managing it.
Correct.
So I think if it's a simplified version for the home that they can apply right now is sit down with your kids, plan something together that has structure of like, hey, this is the time that we are planning that as mommy and daddy, I want to plan this time for me to do my work. And then I want to, at this time, I want to spend time to have special meals. At this time, I want to have family time with you guys. And give that child the opportunity. Because for children, I work with so many students. One of the beautiful things is, right, they don't disregard the fact that they need to be responsible with their schoolwork. They don't throw away the responsibility that they want to actually get better results in school, because they understand kids are very smart nowadays. They know that they are getting a set of education for them to have better opportunities to go to universities, to get the opportunity to be in certain careers. But what they are fighting against, or what they are not happy with, is how they are pursuing it, or how they are expected to pursue it. And the things that they have to pay for them to be pursuing it. Like, for example, or mommy's like, I can't touch my phone. If I touch my phone, means all the hard work that I spend hours in the day is not there. It's not recognized. And by the end of the day, especially when they grow to a teenage level, they want to be recognized even more than when they were younger. And if they had a structure, like parents understand that from this time to this time, it is it is their time that they want to have fun. Let them have fun. No questions about it. Then this time is like an activity that they want to build on a certain set of skills. And then this time is a responsibility that they want to work on. That's why I think a simple thing called like a timetable can make so much difference. Now, I'm so surprised that parents, they have an idea. It's like, I know my child should be studying, but if I ask them, do they have a timetable of when is it that they are supposed to study, when is it they're not supposed to study? They don't have it.
It's interesting. What you just said has reminded me of two more books. There's one that's actually pretty entertaining. It's called Don't Shoot the Dog. I don't remember what's the author's name, unfortunately.
Okay.
So Don't Shoot the Dog is written by a dolphin trainer. And dolphin trainers can't use fear, right? They can't, unlike a land-bound animal, you can't whack a dolphin because dolphins just swim away.
Yep.
So what dolphin trainers had to do was to master something called positive reinforcement, right? And I'll give you an example of this. There was this, in this book, she told of this story where there's this woman who was living in a pretty abusive household, right? The husband's an asshole, right? The kind that sits, watches TV all day, bring me my beer kind of husband.
Understood.
And what's worse is that the son is also like that. So the son also treats the mom like crap, right? And so she read this book called Don't Shoot the Dog, and she used the power of positive reinforcement. And next thing you knew, right, a few months of trying positive reinforcement, she would drive home with her groceries, right? And before she even reaches the front door, the door opens for her. It's her husband. And the husband and the child is going to a car and bringing her groceries back and putting it in the fridge. And this comes from two people who really are just total, dicks.
In other words, their style is, I don't need to do anything, I'm the king. But
yes,
but positive conditioning have kind of like moved them to get off their buttocks and start doing things.
Correct. So and that's a really, and I give that example because it's a really extreme example.
Yeah.
Now, how do you recondition people who's been like that for decades, right? And she could do it in 3 months. Now, what I'm trying to say is, as a parent, as an educator, as a school, you never have to resort to tools of fear. You never have to. You can use tools of positive reinforcement to get results that are far beyond anything you've imagined. Another tool you can use, another book that you should really check out is a book written by Joseph Grenny. Joseph Grenny wrote this book called Influencer, and he talks about the 6 different spheres of influence, right? Most of us just use one tool to try to influence behavior. He's given us 6 very different kinds of tools. For example, if you want your kid to be, more interested in what he wants to learn, let's say he wants to learn robotics. What happens is you surround him with books like robotics. You change his environment. You give him a few more tools to play with. You surround him with friends who are also interested in robotics, right? Use peer pressure, right? As a parent, when's the last time you used peer pressure to help your child grow? It's usually just the parents nagging the child, right? It's never, let's use an entire community to impact my child. No, you see, so Joseph Grenny covers that in his book called Influencer. And interestingly, these are all books about leadership and adults, but it's totally, absolutely valid in education.
Correct.
The schools can use this. You can use it as a parent as well.
Well, actually, you're right. When it comes to resources of leadership, who better to practice leadership on rather than your family? Because they are the ones that, number one, love you unconditionally first of all, and they depend
until
on
they
you
become teenagers, then
they still love you. It's just the way they choose to show it is very different. Yeah. Teenagers are no longer normal human beings anymore.
No.
So for
aliens
parents
take them away, bring them back when they are an adult.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. For parents that have teenagers, one of the things that I would like to share is like in the stages of development, in human development, at a certain stage where they become a young teenager, usually after 12 years old. But in today's world, it seems to be coming younger and younger. when they reach a certain level, or they start to have the different perception of who you are as a parent, because at a younger age, you are their superhero. They want to be you.
Yeah. You become idiots so after when they're 12 years old. I mean, you become this, oh my God, I live with an idiot.
So after that age, when they become an adolescent, they become a teenager, they believe that you have nothing else to teach them anymore. And they start to want to have this independency. They want to start becoming their own person. Hence, whatever you do is what they're going to do as the opposite, because they are trying to not be you anymore. And as a result of that, sometimes the action that they choose becomes a bit bitter for moms and dads. So that's why I'm sharing this in the video. Why? Because mommy and daddy, it's not that your kids hate you. It's not that your kids don't love you and don't appreciate you. It's just that imagine,
maybe a bit.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit when you nag at them and scold at them. But of course, human beings, right? But more importantly, it's like because they want to be themselves, they want to be their own person, not you anymore. And that's one of the reasons why they sometimes, even though they know doing what you tell them to do is good, they will just go against it. So parents, if you can understand that, it will help you kind of like be, I'm not asking you to be saints and it's like every time when they do something like this, you will be okay with it. I just want you to have the understanding so that you will get, how you say, calmer faster. Because if I was in the parents' shoes and my child, the one that I've been bringing up, loving and caring unconditionally up to this stage, and they did something that like in a way purposefully hurting me, of course I'll get hurt as a human being. But of course, being able to give myself some time and calm down and reflect on the fact that my child is doing this not because they hate me, because they want to be themselves, I can let it slide. And maybe I can evolve to be able to develop that relationship to help them in this journey. A lot of times, the biggest problem is mummies and daddies, they want to dictate their knowledge and standards into the child, that they did not know how to evolve it into the point. It's like, okay, so you're going to do this. As a leader, how do I evolve and assist you? That's a very powerful thing. That's why when you talk about leaderships and the leadership books, resources, powerful thing, because one of the best parenting books are not parenting books. Some of the best parenting books are actually leadership books.
Correct.
Being able to be able to develop here rather than here. So parenting books, I think some of the best parenting books are books that are to teach parents how to prepare the babies. And when the baby become a young adult or young child, that's where leadership comes in. How do you manage this young leader? So if I were to say one advice to give to any mommy and daddy right now is to go on YouTube and check out any one of those books that you mentioned. If not, the fundamental of like leadership that you can apply at home. Something just one.
And please don't read Jack Welch. Okay, I mean that's please. I mean that's the opposite of where we're trying to go.
Okay, good point. Except Jack Welch.
Don't read Jack Welch.
So as you check out leadership, my core, because for me, I'm a type of person that I don't appreciate just learning. I really appreciate activation. So one of the things is like when you explore one set of leadership, just take that one small element and practice it today. Just practice it today. Even like for this example would be like asking your child, what would you like to learn? I think that would be a great start.
Of course, when you do ask that after years of conditioning, right? You look at you like,
what are you talking about?
Are you okay?
Or is this a trick question? You want to trick me? Is it?
Yeah, your child will say, I want to do my schoolwork.
And I, from experience, parents, if you're going to ask them an amazing question like this, right, do your best to bite your tongue, because some parents have this tendency of like answering it for their child. Boy, what do you want to learn today? You want to learn your geography, your sejarah, just let them answer whatever they want to answer, because this is a good point for you to actually gauge how much does your child trust you to connect with you. If they're very hesitant to communicate with you, the reason why is because as much as you love them and as much as you want to take care of them, along the way, the relationship has been pulled apart, not coming closer together. So this is great gauges for you to see where are you right now. And if you feel like it's quite far, this is a great chance for you to start tweaking how you parent them, how you actually build a relationship with them. And having the opportunity. One of the great mentor of mine did mention about quality time to reflect. and it's not just working with your kids, it's also with yourselves. Many of times it's like we don't see in our mind. A lot of parents, they don't give themselves permission to be vulnerable with their kids, thinking that if I'm vulnerable with my kid will not respect me. Actually, not true. It is the total opposite. Allowing yourself to show vulnerability lets your kid know that you're human and you're willing to grow. And if you can trust your child with that,
sometimes they forget you're a human.
Oh yeah. Parents, don't forget you are human. Let your child know you're human, because you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So yeah, so good. All right, and you know that's a great thing. And now, and I know you have another meeting to go to right now. But just before you go, is there any like final messages that you want to share with the parents out there?
Final message.
Or a quick one note for them.
No, I mean have fun, right? I mean life's too short. I throw away all the old leadership ideas we've had. We never have to resort to the tools of fear anymore. It's like for the longest time we've been given only one tool to go through life, right? And one tool of influence, which is fear. But there's another 20 more tools, really, 30, 50, 100. And really the key here is that we can't fix everything with just a hammer, right? There's the screwdriver, there's the plier, there's so many other specialized tools for the job. And I think we owe it to ourselves to actually look at these tools and master some of these tools. And it doesn't just, help your child. It really does help you as well. Everything, everywhere, right? In work, if you want to start a business, it'll help you there as well. If you want to build a team, it'll help you there as well. And so, you never have to resort to fear again. There's many more other tools you can use. It's just far nicer to use lah. And you could totally enjoy yourselves, being a better leader.
That is really powerful. Thank you so much, Edmond. Now, I believe some of you guys out there would be very interested to have questions that you want to ask. You want to ask me or ask. What happened is, don't worry. Just feel free to put those questions in the comment segment below. If you want to get directly connected with Edmond, we will also put down some of his details bottom. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. We'll put down some of the details bottom, so you can get in contact with him directly. If you have any some of the books that he mentioned just now, we also put in the link below, so you can actually check it out. Now, guys, if you like the video so far, please remember to give it a like on the page. Share it to people that you think deserve to learn about this, because sharing is caring. And of course, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe and press the bell notification on YouTube so that you will be informed whenever we come up with new videos. All right. All right. Really appreciate you guys having the time. Parents, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We hope what we share has given you one, two, or few tips to help you with your parenting journey. All right. Looking forward to the upcoming video. I mean, thank you so much. Hey, if we had more questions, if you want, maybe we could actually capture Edmond one more time to do another set of interviews in the future as well.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, take
Have
care.
fun.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.